it's one of your trace elements.
Yes, we'll wrap up the trace element thing with iodine. It's last and probably the least well known in regards to monitoring and these sort of things with the trace elements.
We always used to use it as a child, that if you cut yourself, my mother would paint on iodine and it would sting like hell.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is a significant element in regards to animal health, and generally the typical visible and obvious signs of iodine deficiency is the goiter. And I remember as a child at school seeing pictures of humans in New Zealand with big goiters, and of course
big lump in the
big
throat.
swelling of the thyroid gland in the
Right
throat.
in there.
Yeah, and that of course promoted iodizing salt as a means of getting the population sorted out in regards to iodine. And that is the classic thing that we see with livestock. It seems to be a particularly prominent issue with goats and then sheep. It can be a limiting issue with cattle as well, but much more commonly seen with sheep and goats. Not typically related to standard iodine deficiency, but more related to winter feeding of root crops that contain compounds that bind up the iodine and make it unavailable. And of course this is an obvious and major problem when winter feeding pregnant goats and sheep, especially in the southern parts of the country, and we can get these weak or sickly or dead offspring born with big goiters on their neck. But perhaps more importantly, it's recently been shown that iodine in its own right is very relatable to survivability in lambs. And so there's many practices around the country that now promote these starter drenches for lambs in particular. So newly born lambs getting a starter drench, and one of the big components of these starter drenches is iodine to enable the animal to get up and get going. And it seems to be some pretty good scientific justification that in fact does the job.
So it's fairly obvious if an animal, apart from big goiters?
Yeah, apart from the goiters, it's not that obvious, and that's what makes it a difficult thing to monitor. So in the past, we've tried various things, looking at thyroid hormone levels and things like that, but they're very poorly relatable to the actual iodine status of the animal. In the last 12 months, there's been a lot of work going into monitoring organic iodine levels in blood tissue and blood samples, but we're yet to have definitive answers. So at this stage, it's kind of know the risks, and if you're feeding winter crops that could be a problem to pregnant stock, then maybe it's a good idea to talk to your vet about supplementing. Usually that's in the form of injecting long-acting depot shots of iodine into the pregnant animal so the fetus can get the iodine it needs, and maybe look seriously at the possibilities of using starter drench issues if that kind of very interventional system is going to fit on your farm. You know, if you've got the labour resource and the land resource that you can monitor these newborns and actually get in and give them the drench as required. And I guess at this stage that's the best way to go. But watch the space in regards to good tests available for monitoring iodine status in regard to sampling groups of animals.
You're indicating there's something coming down the tubes.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some new.
You're being quite hedgy there.
Yeah, well, there has been a lot of work, and it's looking like there may well be a good monitoring tool coming up. But when it's going to be released by the laboratories, I don't know.
No, that's fair comment. I mean, it was when you're looking at a new family for drenches, it took ages from the time that there was a whisper.
Yeah.
So really, I mean, apart from just monitoring very closely, do you do blood tests for it, or?
No, you can, and that's I think what the new frontier is going to be, is looking at a blood sample that's going to be equatable to iodine status in the animal, and that's what's been sort of hidden from us at this stage, and up until now we've just not had a very good test to go on, really. So